So first of all, you guys, you look very chill. Are you music fans?
Yeah. We're big music fans. We go out and see lots of different shows and concerts and stuff, and we're big fans of the Grateful Dead. And so we go out and we definitely do those shows all the time, as many as we can, because we're big fans of that. And then we'll sometimes vend food at some of the Grateful Dead shows on the lots and sell stuff there.
Mushrooms?
Uh, Nothing illegal.
No.
Shiitake?
Shiitake mushrooms,
Yeah,
reishi,
A lot of mushroom. Yeah, not the fun ones, but
Yeah,
the more
no.
medicinal, but not hallucinogenic.
Yeah, they're fungi, but they're not the psychedelic ones.
Some people might say you're a fun guy. Okay, well, that's an old joke, right?
Yeah.
So, what's the political breakdown of people who would attend a Grateful Dead concert?
Honestly, I'd say it's largely more on the conservative side.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot. I'd say it's probably like 60-40, I'd say. Yeah.
60-40 in which favor?
60% probably more like Republican conservative, and then there's like about 40% that, fall in line with this liberal agenda.
But they give the appearance of being hippies. How could 60% be politically conservative today?
I mean, even though they, don't dress as nice as Trump, they definitely stand for freedom. And I mean, if you just walk onto like a Grateful Dead lot, and it's literally screams freedom. So
Yeah, there's no judgment there, so you can support whatever you want as long as you're not harming others. I think people will support you in that.
When you see these extended protest marches now that we used to see in the 60s during the Vietnam War, and they come around using the idea of civil rights, and Derek Chauvin was just stabbed in prison yesterday, that the idea that America is institutionally racist or systemically racist, and they come around with an agenda that masks fascism, collectivism, socialism. Do you think that people from the 60s can see through that?
If they didn't take too many drugs, they can. But yeah, I mean, I think just blocking your face, blocking your voice is something that, the masks are trying to do, and if people can't see through that, then I'm really sorry, and I wish them the best. But I think that's the first sign that they're trying to hold us back, is when they're enforcing the masks.
What did you're talking about the medical masks?
Yes, yeah.
What does that represent on a sociological level?
I mean, to me, the mask always was a symbolism of we're censoring your speech. And I mean, in the United States, the First Amendment, I mean, like what we're doing right here, right now with this journalism, is the most important thing, is freedom of the press, freedom of religion, your ability to speak. If my religion didn't allow me to take the vaccine, so that was one of the big things to speak up in that. I believe that some people are breatharians, and they should have the freedom to not wear a mask if they don't want to in public spaces. And that right there was taking away their First Amendment freedoms. So it was all a huge symbolism to take that, like, hey, we got you. You can't talk anymore, and we're censoring you. And they censored it online. And I think that was the strongest point, is that we've taken away Americans' free speech.
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I just think also, the expressionism that, we like to interact with people. I mean, I'm a big smiler, so I like to smile at people when I walk by and say hi. And when we had the mask on, people weren't communicating. People weren't sharing the messages that we need to verbally and just, physically with your facial expressions. And that was the saddest part for me.
How about the authoritarianism of conformity that's been imposed on people? Has that subsided, or do you think it could be revived?
I think sadly, some people really they're lost in their lives, and so they need they're looking for guidance, and so an authoritarian figure will misdirect them, and they'll take that and they'll use it almost like a cult-like symbolism to like go along with something. But I think that now, as people are starting to realize that they're losing so many privileges and so much freedoms, I think they're starting to realize they might have stepped in the wrong, and they're slowly kind of coming back. I mean, I have a few friends that were very strict about social distancing and masks when COVID first came around, and now they've kind of realized that it was the wrong thing to do, and they're sort of coming around and speaking out against these things.
Do you fear that pandemics or viruses will be used again during an election cycle as a device towards cheating?
Absolutely. I think the World Health Organization cannot be trusted, and I think that, if anything, this whole thing exposed a lot of corruption in the medical industry that really needs to be analyzed and looked at. And you can see how our Department of Public Health does not have the public's health interests at all, and they're not executing that. So it's a real question of where's all this money going, what's it for, and it really needs to be stopped now before it ever gets brought up again. And that's my biggest fear, is that the World Health Organization is supposed to sign something really big in June.
May or June, May.
And if we don't bring awareness of it and stand up against what's about to happen, then something could awful happen.
How would you describe what that agenda is to sign over World Health Organization control over other countries' health policies?
I mean, to me, it's world takeover. It's communist takeover. I think it's even deeper than communism in some aspects. I think there's a very strong spiritual aspect to it, because some people, like the Amish, religions that are allowed to freely function here in the United States and do their own, Christian Scientists do their own religious practices with their health. And even back, if you look at health back in like the 1500s, it used to be completely separated from governments and from things like that. And it used to be a lot more spirituality, but then they started attacking it with like the witch trials and the witch hunts and things. And so the religions and stuff, it created some serious conflict that now is separated, and now this health system that we have now is completely different than the way it used to be back in the ancient times. And I think that people, if they can get more in tune with how to heal themselves naturally and how to treat their bodies right, that I don't think they'd have to worry about or have this fear that they have to go to the doctor all the time or take all these drugs all the time. And I think that if people can become aware of these things and that they're strong and their body's strong, I think that we'll be able to rise up and stand against this. And it's America where it needs to happen. It's the United States citizens, because we have so many freedoms here that we're just tossing aside for, what's the saying, fear. The only thing to fear is fear itself, and people are becoming too afraid.
How much faith do you have in media reportage, mainstream media, either of you? Emily?
Pretty much not much at all. I was a communications major in college, and I'll never forget one of my classes, persuasion, and one of the books was The Art of Persuasion. And I think that's what we see in media right now. It's like we've got a one-side agenda, and how can we persuade people to believe that? And it's not fact-based, and it's a lot of propaganda, a lot of fear, like what Doug was saying. And it's just it's nonsense. It's not fact-based. It's just people's opinions that are getting put out there as fact, and people that don't look into things, don't want to investigate further, are just seeing this person on TV that they might respect or think is beautiful, and they want to believe what they're saying is truth. And that's the problem that we see right now, because people are just following these media gods, thinking that they're the right way, when obviously it's been proven not to be.
How about actors? Do you think actors are good sources of socio-political or medical advice?
I think that
Celebrities, singers, rap artists.
I don't think you should treat them any differently than you would any other person that you would, any other American's opinion. Everybody's opinion needs to be heard. It doesn't matter whether they're, Elon Musk or some guy on the side of the street. You should listen to both. Each opinion matters. So, make your own decision, but don't think that somebody that, was in some movie all of a sudden knows everything.
Well, especially when they're not experts on that subject. What about the people who claim to be experts who are appointed, let's say, by Governor Newsom here in California? What happened during the 2020 election when Newsom enforced strong measures against the citizenry and businesses in California?
Oh, I mean, this one speaks really home to like Emily, because she's a small business owner running a catering company, and I mean it's destroyed like so much business. So,
but surely we needed to have some curtailment of interaction to reduce the spread of the virus, didn't we?
I would say everyone needs to take care of their own health. I don't think that the virus was what they said it was. So I think the measures that they took were completely extreme. I think when you're sick, you're sick and you stay home. And I don't think that it was some silent spreader that they, perceived it to be.
Do you think it was honest health data that was shaping public health policy in California during the epidemic?
Definitely not. No, I mean, there was a lot of propaganda, again, with the media saying that the hospitals were full, there were lines out the door, and I mean, there's at least a half a dozen hospitals in, our area here in the greater Los Angeles area that we would drive by regularly, and there were no lines. Our neighbor was a nurse, and she said, no, this is not what you're seeing on the media. This is not the big scare that people want to believe it is. So I think, again, if you're sick, you stay home. If you're not, go about your life.
How would you feel about Gavin Newsom being the Democratic president succeeding Joe Biden?
It would be a really sad day for, I think, a lot of people. We tried to get him out of office here in California. I'm not sure how he was able to stay in. We had the signatures, the people spoke, but yet somehow at the box office, the numbers didn't add up. So I don't think what he's done here in California is a good example that the country wants to follow. So I would think people would be pretty upset.
You mean after the fact if he gets in?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he got in.
Well, it depends about the tabulating integrity.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. We'll see. I mean, the ballots, I mean, we live in an apartment complex, and last election there was at least 20 ballots just sitting by the mailboxes of people that used to live there, that don't live there anymore. So what happened to those 20 ballots? And that was just at our small 28-unit building. So, I mean, there's thousands and millions of ballots out there that, are just getting taken advantage of. So it's really hard to trust the system. You want to have faith that the right person will win, but we'll see what happens.
Anything you care to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, I think a massive audit needs to be done on California elections. I just don't see the numbers really adding up from the amount of people I talk to. And I mean, I get around, I hang out in both sides, different community functions and stuff. And there's a lot of people that are not voting for some of these candidates. There's even so many people that are voting independent in California, and the numbers are so low that it just blows my mind.
Any thoughts about the southern border and what's coming across and why they're letting in so many unvetted military-age males from America's enemy countries?
Yeah, I think that I think there's a serious takeover that's trying to happen here in the United States, and I think that some of these people are being brought in by foreign adversary countries like China and in the Middle East and stuff right now, and I think it should be really needs to be looked at, and so we need Trump immediately back in office. He was the only one I think ever in my lifetime that ever got the border taken care of to a good point.
But if you believe that there was election fraud against Trump by people who consider themselves doing the right thing before, and if people who work in the election counting, tabulating, if they think that a Trump candidacy, a future, might justify them cheating again, would you support any other candidates as an alternative if Trump's electability becomes in question?
No, I mean I haven't seen a single candidate. I mean I did go to RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., and saw him speak a few months ago, and he's a great guy, but it's hard to trust him. I'm not gonna lie. It's just I'm all for freedom, and Trump's all for freedom, for people to have their freedoms, and so it's really hard to back somebody like RFK, even though he wants to try to like make a lot of difference and change a lot of things. He wants to try to do things through regulations and laws, whereas Trump just wants the citizens to become aware and like figure it out on their own, which I'm more for. So.
What about, we're filming this during the week, the 50th anniversary of the assassination of, it's actually the 60th anniversary of the assassination of JFK. What if, heaven forbid, something were to happen to Trump, President Trump, to incapacitate him? Is there another Republican, rather than RFK, a Republican candidate who you would back? And you don't have to pick one necessarily, but are you flexible enough, or are you stuck on Trump?
Trump's the only candidate that I've really ever trusted out of the Republican Party completely, and that's because he's willing to stand up to a lot of their craziness they did. I mean, I campaigned for George Bush back in the day, so I mean, I used to love the Republican Party, but Trump got me back into liking the Republican Party. So if something happens to Trump, it'd be really hard for me to back anybody else right now out of the Republican Party.
Would you not vote?
I mean, if something like that happened, I'd probably vote for RFK right now, even though I don't trust him completely. If I have to pick the best of all the people right now, that's the best candidate, I'd say, aside from Trump. Yeah.
How about Ron DeSantis?
I don't trust him at all.
Vivek Ramaswamy?
The biggest problem I have with DeSantis is that DeSantis has been passing a lot of laws in Florida that you think are really good, that he's doing these things, but he's actually taking away rights that people have and that will be flipped and used against you. And I feel the same way about Vivek. I feel like a lot of his ideas are very good, and they're very similar, if you go back and listen to what he says, to what Obama said during his campaigns. And you got to be really careful with these people that throw out these weird promises like that, because they'll just flip it and turn it on you, especially if they want to throw out regulations. So that's one of the reasons why I am skittish of Robert Kennedy Jr., because he could easily get in there push some weird policy stuff and flip it the wrong way on you.
Emily, your thoughts? What if Trump becomes incapacitated, heaven forbid, in some way?
I mean, heaven forbid. I just saw, I guess, Business Insider put out an article today, like, what if Trump gets assassinated before the election, which is just crazy that they would even put that out there, because I've heard that that's what they're trying to do. I'm open to voting for someone else. That person hasn't, come to me yet. I did go see Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and we got to speak with him briefly in person, and he's a great guy, but again, I'm not fully committed to trusting him, but I'm definitely, if and when that time comes, I'll do my research and hopefully vote for the person that I feel is the strongest.
Okay, good. All right, well, it's 20 minutes, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Hey,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah.